Welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some news stories, shall we? The first story is called Strange Break Rules. I used to work at a Chinese buffet in a shopping center near my hometown. The very first day, I was informed that if you wish to go on a break, you had to do it outside of the restaurant because apparently seeing an employee taking a break can look unprofessional to a customer. We were having a very busy day and my supervisor came in just when the majority of customers had already left and most of the work was done. We both just stood in the kitchen and the only thing left to clean was literally a couple of plates and a small tray of cutlery. The chefs were doing food preparation to get late night orders ready and just to look busy. So my supervisor and I both decided to leave the few pots soaking and go outside for a small break. This would have taken about 5 minutes out of our day, but our manager decided that both of us were now on a break and told us to do just that. After 20 minutes of our break, the supervisor gets a call. A couple of minutes after we had left, about 50 customers had come in, all at once, and the kitchen was getting swamped with orders and all the sinks and trolleys were full to capacity. With no other cleaners on shift that day, we informed the manager that we couldn't enter the restaurant until our break was over, which was another half hour. She hung up immediately and told us to get back the second our break ended. We walk in as promised and there are no customers in the restaurant at all. Why? Because they quite literally did not have any clean plates or cutlery left and all the kitchen equipment was dirty. The chefs were already cleaning the ovens and the waitresses tallying up orders and calculating total tips for the day. This was 4 hours before the restaurant was due to close. She decided to fire us both the moment we walked in from our break for gross negligence. We get a call from the district manager the next morning informing us that we weren't fired. Actually, the manager had been fired as she was grossly incompetent at her job. We also got told that due to her poor rotation management, no cleaners or waitresses were scheduled for an entire week. With only her and the chefs being on the rotation, the company was left with two options. Either close the store for that week or be forced to pay what is essentially 2 times the normal salary for nearly every employee the restaurant had so they could stay open. The next story is called, We Need to Help Each Other. This happened about 5 months ago. I had a coworker, who always considered himself smart and good at his job, but would never actually do any work or even show up half the time. He'd call out once a week minimum and when he didn't call out, he was begging to be covered because he had to go out and party every other day instead of work. The only reason he wasn't fired is that he knew how to work around it. The days he is at work he's known for asking whoever knows him the least to help him with his work. When I was new, I would help only to find he left to take a break and basically wanted me to do his job for him. This particular day, this coworker was closing with our boss and I was on a midday shift to help them close as well. My boss had a surprise meeting halfway through my shift that ended up taking a while and before he left, he gave me some tasks I had to finish before I clocked out. No problem, they're decently easy but will take up the rest of my shift. As I'm doing these tasks, the coworker comes up and starts talking with me. Hey, are you busy? Not necessarily. Great, can you help me with something? No, not really. I have other things to do. But you said you weren't busy. It will take like 10 minutes. I thought to myself, why haven't you finished it already? And I said, I'm sorry, but I need to do this. You're the midday shift, your job is to help the night shift and I'm currently night shift. I need help and you're not doing anything important. He goes on and on about being a team and helping each other and I get an idea. Okay, coworker, you need help and I'm not doing anything important? Sure thing. The night shifts are divided into 3 sections with different responsibilities. And the coworker was placed on the one with the most tasks and requirements after months of whining that he deserved to be there. He shows me what I have to do and he has basically done nothing in the few hours he's been at work. He leaves happy, thinking I'll do all his work and he can take a nice long break. And I do exactly that, I get to work. I do his tasks, but I do them all a little wrong and at a slow enough speed that I don't exactly complete them all. Examples include stocking shelves, dating products, cleaning spoilage and more. The coworker comes back and I tell him that I did it all and he walks away again, not even checking the quality of my job. This lined up perfectly with my boss coming back from his meeting and asking for an update. I explain how I couldn't finish the original tasks because my coworker had me help him. My boss is already annoyed and asks for a clear play-by-play, so I tell him how he left me to do his job without him there to properly guide me as I had never done his job before. Several other people do this specific job and have taught me already, but my boss didn't know that. My boss runs to my coworker's department and sees how everything is off by just enough to be bothersome and will need to be mentioned in an email so no one gets mad at my boss. He tells me for my first time I did well, but I really need training and he can't believe that the coworker left me alone to do all this. My boss tries to ask me to complete some of the original tasks, but helping my coworker took up the last bit of my shift. I clock out happier than when I clocked in. The day after, I heard that my boss chewed my coworker out and told him he can't ask new people for help anymore. I also see that my coworker was taken out of that department for all future shifts and placed in the easier ones. He ended up quitting soon after anyway, but it was fun getting him into a little trouble before he left. The third story is called, Tell Your Employer. This happened to me a couple of years ago. I was hospitalized one night for a spine problem and waiting for surgery the next morning. I was in a big double bedroom with another patient with a couple of curtains separating our beds. The other patient was a stroke patient with no speaking ability or mobility and she has a caretaker. I was in agony, so the doctor gave me something strong to fall asleep and it worked till 5. My caretaker neighbor, for whatever reason, started playing very loud music from her phone. I was waking up and angry. It's 5 in the morning, are you kidding me? Let me sleep. So I asked her politely to turn off the music or using headphones. Surprisingly, she just ignored me, not even bothered to say a word. The music was so loud that the nurse came in and asked her to turn it down because patients from the next room were complaining. The caretaker told the nurse her employer wasn't complaining, so she is fine with the music. If there is a problem, they should talk to her employer, not her. Her employer wasn't able to speak and move. This is basically torture. Here is the malicious compliance part. I noticed my neighbor patient always go to physical therapy at 9 and her horrible caretaker would stay in the room and sleep till 11:30. Also, I made sure that there is no other patient in the next room and I told the nurse what my plan was. Then I had my laptop and Bluetooth speaker with me. I started to play the whole 2016 Tomorrowland playlist and turned the room into a nightclub. The caretaker was so angry and screamed at me saying she was sleeping and my music woke her up. Well, tell your employer to file a complaint against me to the hospital or let your employer talk to me directly. Since then, my journey in the hospital was 100 times easier. The last story is called, Hat Compliance. My dad, Jim, is a programmer for a government contractor, something very specialized I don't understand along the lines of satellite communication. The nature of his job has kept him moving from company to company over the years as contracts shift and companies merge or lay off employees. However, my dad is extremely competent and has worked his way up to lower management. My dad also has always worn a baseball cap. Always. Every day. He wore a baseball cap to my wedding along with his suit. It came off for the ceremony and went back on soon as my wife and I kissed. I have never seen my dad outside without a baseball cap on unless it would be improper or highly impractical. Now, having so many bosses from numerous projects, it was inevitable that my dad would eventually run into one or two hard-headed, by-the-rules bosses. One day, just such a person demanded that my dad remove his hat for meetings from that moment forward. He could wear the hat while at work unless they were facing clients. As lead programmer on multiple projects, my dad had been working with most of these clients for longer than his bosses as the companies changed faster than either the programmers or military. He got into a good-natured argument over the dress code but was shut down. So he made a deal. He would take off his hat, but if anyone said anything, his boss would have to buy lunch. They both agreed and went to the meeting. They entered the conference room, sat down, and as soon as his boss started talking, he was interrupted by the older lady sitting across from my dad. "I'm sorry, but where is Jim?" He pulls out his cap while staring at boss and puts it on. "Lunch." "Okay, fine. So, what do you all want?" "What? You agreed if someone said anything about me not wearing my hat, then you'd buy lunch." "I didn't mean it that way. I think pizza sounds good." My dad's boss was shamed into keeping his promise and my dad got a free pizza lunch and the freedom to wear his hat whenever he wanted. Which is all the time. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comments section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.